mean, it's always the worst part of any conversation when you, with people that don't really, you know, don't understand what you do, and they don't, you know, especially people who are our age, they're not general fans of music anyway by now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got playlists on Spotify, and that's about it. So, you know, as you get older, there's two very different groups of people. Casual listeners, I would say, and then there's people that kind of are interested in music.
Mr. Mark Hockings.
Hello.
Welcome to GeeK Talk.
Thank you very much.
To those of you who've been following my channel, Mr. Mark Hockings is the lead singer of Mesh, and now his new solo project, Black Car Burning, and also my fellow bandmate, because I've just been recruited.
Indeed. What's one of the team?
What's the deal until you find someone better, or until I die, or something like that?
You're right at the moment.
Thank you.
We're taking notes. So far, so good.
Well, listen, so we're in your, is this your gaming, your VR room?
Yeah, I know, I mean, it's terrible, isn't it, really? It's childish, but this is my VR room, yeah.
But tell us about, this is to prevent you from hurting yourself because you punched the walls or something.
Yeah, so I almost broke my hands a couple of times now. So, yeah, there's some quite, so this area here, it's a bit thicker, this bit, and it's got proper foam underneath, basically to stop me from breaking my knuckles when I'm fighting things. You're an eternal dragons and things like that.
You're an eternal boy, but at the same time you're deadly serious in things you do. So coming on to Mesh, obviously first time I met you and Rich was back in 2018, 2019. We did our first interview.
Yep, remember it well.
And that was before the world went mad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to talk a little bit about where where we've been so far. So we've obviously done some shows this year. We did Plognor, we did Harlow, we did Bristol and London, and it was a baptism of fire for me.
Did very well.
Thank you, and really enjoyed it. But for GeeK Talk now, I just want to talk about some of the technical stuff that some of the geeks want, but also I want to keep the language quite inclusive for casual fans and things like that. Of course, there are no casual fans of Mesh; they're all hardcore.
No, they're all obsessed with technical details.
So, Looking Skyward being the last album, which was about 7 years ago.
Yeah, 2016 time. Yeah, by the time we geeked it, it was later than that. But yeah.
And of course, Mesh have always had this unique sound, which is not only defined by the sound, but the sound of your voice. And, I think you guys have defined it as alternative electronic, because it's always difficult to put yourself in a category.
Yeah, I mean, categories are weird, aren't they? I mean, it's always the worst part of any conversation when you, with people that don't really, don't understand what you do, and they don't, especially people who are our age, they're not general fans of music anyway by now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got playlists on Spotify, and that's about it. So, as you get older, there's two very different groups of people. Casual listeners, I would say, and then there's people that kind of are interested in music. So the genre thing, you always end up describing your music in terms of what people know. And that doesn't really do it justice. But I mean, we're an electronic band. We do music because we like the electronics of it. I mean, that's fundamentally what we do. And then there's a different job then to translate that into a live environment. So, hence the drums, the live keyboards, the live vocals, studio, it's very much a digital process. You're writing something with computers, basically. And then to translate that into the real world, you need something a bit more organic. So.
Yeah, it's something Richard and I've spoken about as well. I mean, technically speaking, you could be, just a two-piece band. The way things are presented live. Let's say that you get the recording process, but I think presenting it live with a full band is always more effective than just the traditional man and a keyboard and a singer in the front kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are reasons sometimes that people do go out just with a minimum amount of setup. I mean, it's expensive to do it the way we do it.
Yeah,
you know what's involved in it and the amount of people that's involved in it. But the more people you got, the more uncertainty you inject into the entire evening. And that's not always a bad thing. If you've got a live drummer, if you've got a live keyboard player, you've got, obviously live vocals. But I'm going to say obviously, it's not always the case with bands. So there's something a little bit exciting about that aspect of it. It has the potential to go wrong. I mean, it all has the potential to go wrong. Even the computers can shut down. It's all somewhat of a what do they call it? Running the gauntlet. Is that what they call it? But yeah, it just makes it a bit more fun for everyone, I think. And I think if people are having fun on stage, I think that's kind of contagious as well.
Is there just coming up to some gear now for the geeks out there? Mm-hmm. Is there a certain? I know you've got a really. I love what you've done to your studio. And we're going to do a bit of filming in there afterwards. If we look at the last album, Looking Skyward, were there any sort of like go-to pieces of gear that you went to with that?
I mean, I think the last album, we were using a lot of probably plugins mostly. That last album was done a lot with, there's some things that we've got in the studio that like Rich has got his Pro One, and I've got a feeling we had. I mean, I used the Sub 37, the Moog. I've got a couple of bits of kit like that.
So it's Silent, the synth you used?
Silent, Serum, Extra Serum.
So these are real digital VST type things, yeah.
Yeah. Some of those plugins are really, really good. I've changed the equipment I've worked on since that album. I've gone through phases. You buy keyboards, you use them, great, and then you find great plugins and you start using those. And then I've found that I like to use stuff now that you can't save anything on. I know that sounds a bit weird.
Yes. You get stuff done that way.
I get stuff done, and even if you wanted to, you could never get that sound back.
So it's the way they did. It's how they did in the beginning of electronic music. You had to commit, and
you committed. I suppose in those days you committed it to tape.
Yeah, but you couldn't go back and change it.
No,
because that's how stuff.
You could remix it with external effects, I guess. But, so I've kind of gone a bit more that way now, with modular and with a lot more hardware. But saying that, there's still a lot of, the ACB stuff from Roland, which is the analog circuit behavior stuff, is just like, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't care what anyone says, you can't hear it. You can't hear it, and if you're the sort of person that can hear that, you're probably wasting a lot of time. Do you know what I mean? If it sounds close to a Juno 106 or an SH 101. Yeah, it's close enough.
It's the time-old argument, and with always these debates on forums about analog versus digital. I think the reality is, if we do an A/B comparison between, let's say, a SH-101 plugin and
if you're struggling to hear it, you're wasting your time.
Well, the thing is as well, plugins have come such a long way. So if you do an A/B comparison, you may be able to hear the difference, or you might not. Yeah. However, when it comes down to the finished product, when everything is mixed down, does it really make a difference?
I don't think it does.
And this is something, and I'm going to look at the camera as I say this. This is something I've always been saying to my students: is all the people who actually get shit done. It's the people that I've interviewed: the Gareth Joneses, the Dave Bascombs, the Mesh, the Gary Newman. Aid Fenton, the people who actually get shit done, they don't get caught up on the details. They are focused on getting stuff out.
This is sort of maybe slightly off topic, but that is one of the skills you need to learn, to just let it go. Get it finished, get it out, move on. Don't I know people that are still working on the same track 30 years later. She never finished it. Never finished.
It never gets finished.
Because everything moves on. So that track all of a sudden could benefit from this new plugin. just move on, finish it.
Nobody cares. Yes,
people do care, and you know, there's a lot of them on YouTube. They care.
Oh, I'm talking about the public when they
The
hear
public
it.
don't
That's
care.
what I mean. They don't
No,
care.
they
That's
can't.
why. I mean, you, the
can't.
artists, care too much sometimes. We,
They
the
can't
artists.
tell whether a Jupiter 8 is a Jupiter 8.
You see,
They don't care.
This is an ongoing conversation I've had with the sort of the hard hitters, and I put you as a hard hitter. People who actually do stuff. The people we look up to, they're not. I did a video once called "The Pros Don't Care, Nor Should You," and that was basically based on this thing. It was, yeah, sounds good, get it out.
Yeah.
It's not based on.
You know, I mean, if you're chipping away at something, and you know, you spend a lot of time. I mean, this is something I've learned in the last few years. If you get all the things right, and you use the right sounds, then I think some of that stuff does make a difference. Okay, there's certain, you know, I'm gonna just talking about the Roland stuff. I mean, the Roland ACB stuff. I got a TR6S drum machine. Now it's not a 909, it's not an 808, but it is pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Even those subtleties that those machines have. And if you use those machines, I mean, you know, me and Rich disagree a little bit about this, you know, those kind of sounds, but, you know, they're solid and they do make a track come alive. And if you put one in and then you listen to it without, you put some other drum sample in, it doesn't sound the same. All right, it might sound very similar to another record that's out. However, there's a reason why these people use these drum machines.
Yeah.
You know, because they've got a certain weight to them. Even the snares have got weight to them.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would a snare need weight? But if you take it out of the track doesn't sound right. You know, I mean, I'm not the world's expert on mixing and you know, mastering and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, those things are noticeable. But you know, should you spend weeks on a bass drum? Probably not. You know, it's probably great for your listening pleasure, and maybe when you listen to it a year later you think, oh, I wish I'd done that. But actually, does anyone care? I think they care to a point. If it sounds awful, obviously they care. But if it sounds pretty much like a record, you know, this analog stuff and all this equipment changing hands for 30 grand, stuff that, you know, cost £1,000 when it came out, to me, it makes no sense.
And a lot of the people who are spending money on stuff like that, and I don't mean this in an RC kind of way, but a lot of them are people who don't actually get stuff out. I mean, I know a lot in my community, in my Geek Talk community, I know, and I use this saying a lot, and I don't mean any disrespect, I'm just going to say it the way it is. I know so many guys who've got tons and tons of gear, but not a single original idea. You know, as we come to Mesh now, it's fundamentally
it's
the
almost
songs,
like a different hobby.
but it's the songs that's the
yeah, I mean, I think there are genuinely people out there, you know, I mean, especially there's a similar argument with cars, isn't there? Like, you've got some, you know, the latest Ferrari sitting out the front, but you're never taking it on a track. You know, I think it's the same with you know, people that buy rare synths. I think they like having them and they like listening to them. You know, they dabble around a bit, but they've got no intention of making any records.
Yeah,
and it's a bit like cars, you know.
I suppose so. It's a very good analogy, actually.
They're sort of collecting cars, but they don't drive on a track. They don't rag that Ferrari around the track for 5 hours until it's broken. Do you know what I mean? You know, and maybe there's, but you know, it's the online stuff. It's like, well, you know, you proudly post something up. You know, I bought this. I mean, Behringer's a very good example. You know, Behringer making all these synths, you know, for the fraction of the cost of the things that they're cloning, you know, and there's a lot of debate about this, and there's a lot of nastiness about it.
The purists usually.
Well, the purists and also people that have bought these synths on investment, you know, and I sort of get that in a way, but you know, the people that comment on the sound, it's not exactly the same. Yeah, it's close enough, mate. You know what I mean? But they're quite nasty about it, and they've never released anything. They've never made a record with it. And I think this is the thing, you become very tuned to how things work when you try and write a record with it. I mean, it might be the most expensive second-hand vintage synth you can buy, but if you can't drop it in a track and it doesn't sound right, then to me it's not really worth spending the money on it. You know?
It's exactly the chat I had with Gary Newman once, and we had the same question, because everyone gets this, you know, everyone no one gets away with discretion from me, the analog versus digital thing. And something Gary Newman said in a previous interview was, he said, if you are asking yourself the difference between analog and digital, he said something like, you shouldn't even be in this game.
No.
Your job as a musician is to release the best record and the best sounds you can, regardless of what's used to make it.
And you're trying to make a record with the money that you have.
Correct.
You know, and is it a good idea to buy a second-hand, 1970s synth for 10 grand? Or can you kit out your entire studio for that money?
Well, or can you feed your family? I know a lot of guys who are bankrupting, their wives are going to cut their balls off.
Yeah, I mean that is a different, and that's a different different scenario really. But when we started making music, you might have 300 quid. Now I had an SH-101, it's an analog synth, it's a mono synth, you can make one sound out of it. And it's got a sequencer in it, but it's only 100 notes. We didn't have a DAW or, like a Cubase. So you had to have something so you could make a record out of it, and that wasn't it. Although it was great and it got me into synthesizers, you could make a record with it, but you needed other stuff. You needed a multi-track, you needed a sequencer of some kind, and all that was expensive. So when I ended up buying, I think it was a TX-81Z, which is like an FM thing, but it was, it was multi-timbral. You could have 16 sounds.
So the Yamaha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite harsh as a thing because it was FM.
But stock Aiken Waterman, 802s, I think.
Yeah, you could make good bass lines. I mean, all stock Aiken and Waterman's bass lines were done with FM. It was either DX7s or TX7s or TX-81Zs. But then, I had a D110 as well, which is the Roland D110. And again, it was multi-timbral. So with those two boxes, you had potentially 32 different sounds you could run all at the same time. Great.
Yeah.
The SH-101, perfect. I wish I hadn't sold it, but it's all about what you wanted to do with it. If I'd managed to find a way of recording the entire track with SH-101, great, and you could have done it, but it wasn't the best value for money. And it's like these things. All right, if you've got £250,000 sitting around, you could probably buy them all. Great.
Exactly.
But I don't think you can make a record that sounds as good as something made in Serum, for instance. It's so flexible, and you can run 100 instances of it. You can have 100 different sounds.
We'll read the comments below after this video.
Yeah, they'll love this. Everyone will love this.
You've just blown all your product endorsements.
I mean, it's literally
Moog, we're about to endorse you.
It's troll heaven, this kind of talk, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Welcome to my world.
Oh, I love this.
Now, it's something we can go on forever, as you say, Troll Haven or Troll Heaven kind of thing.
Troll Haven. That would be an interesting holiday idea.
Troll Heaven. But no, it is exactly that. I had one of my students once, there's been a few that want to, they say, I want to buy an analog synthesizer. And I'm like, why don't you just buy yourself and they say, do you know how to use an analog synthesizer now? Now, I'm not a brilliant guy on synthesis. I'm a little, and when I watch people that I look up to, like Gary Newman and stuff, and he goes, he doesn't profess to be a genius, but he goes, I know if you do this, I'm a bit like a guy. I can't build cars, but I can drive a car. So this is where I see it, as long as I can use it. But I've had students that would sometimes say, "Oh, Vaughn, I want to buy an analog synthesizer." I'm like, "Why do you want to do that?" "Oh no, because this." And I always say to them, "Why don't you just buy or download a free plugin, and just learn it first before you."
Yeah, I mean, a great way of learning this stuff is the online virtual modular stuff. Okay. So a good way of learning that stuff, if you don't want to spend the money, is VCV Rack, and they actually do copies, or people have programmed copies of modules that you can buy. So essentially, you put together the synthesizer in, you got oscillators and filters and envelopes and modulators, LFOs, all these things. You can plug them together with virtual cables, and you can see what they do if you want to learn it. before I bought any of that stuff, that's kind of, I started messing around with those things. And it's quite hard work to start with. You don't really get anything out of it for a while because you don't really understand what it's doing. But it's a good way of teaching you how, because an analog synth that you would buy now is what they call normal. So it, without plugging any cables in, it just works. Without doing anything else, it just works. You put your key fingers on it and it plays. And all those modules are wired together within the synth with modular stuff and the VCV rack and all this. I mean, you build those things separately and wire them together and see what comes out. And you end up with a huge mess of modules and cables, and you've no idea what you've done. But I mean, it sounds pretty cool.
I suppose, yeah, that's good advice, but it's a good way to learn your craft. I think back in the days when things were more expensive, we were physically limited by what we could afford. I was watching a documentary on OMD, and I think where McCluskey was sitting there and playing the multi-track stems to, I think, Enola Gay and things like that, and they just sound terrible, in isolation. Yeah. It's the most plinky-plonky sounds, but put them together, add reverb, and they're great records. But of course, there's the other side to this argument as well, where people just go, you get these drag and drop, preset upon preset upon preset. Yeah, so you're not actually learning anything.
There's some pretty nasty things out there, but I mean,
instant gratification.
Again, it's difficult, isn't it? If it sounds good, does it sound good because the sound's good? Does it? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
Although there's, I think a lot of these ones that do sound really good, they've got kind of sequences in there, and somebody spent a lot of time writing those sequences, and effectively they're giving you bits of record that they've already produced.
Correct.
And you're playing it. Now, again, does anyone care?
True.
Apart from the moaners like us.
Exactly, and then you'll get the purists who never get stuff released, and you'll get these guys who don't care about the synthesis who get stuff released, and sometimes they're successful, and then the purists get pissed off by, hey, but you're just painting by numbers.
All this stuff is an endless succession of production ideas. You can have all the best equipment in the world, but if you've got just an endless string of awful ideas, then it's not going to work. And you'll find a way of fucking it up somehow.
We all know people have endless strings of awful ideas.
Well,
like that.
It's everyone in the music business, like any business, isn't it? Everyone's scared to death that some piece of technology is going to come out and make what they do redundant. Now, okay, if you're shifting boxes around in a factory, then that's probably true. But once you get into a creative realm, I'm already getting sick of, Mid-Journey and, all these AI generated programs. You can tell. But I think if it's used in a creative way, that technology isn't, as soon as you give that technology to somebody who don't really understand the potential of it, it becomes boring.
Correct.
It's another AI generated picture.
Yeah.
So you stop looking at it. There's something about it. It's not right now. It's early days yet, but then you get some. I know a guy, my friend Greg, and he uses that AI stuff in a way that it's not all of what you see. It's bits of it. He's used some of it to do this.
It's enhancement as opposed to just tech. It's quite funny you should say this, Mark, because this is something I wanted to segue into, and it's because you are very technically minded. You do all the a lot of you guys don't know, but when you come to a mesh show, all the graphics and the screens, Mark does all that, and the backing track synchronization and stuff like that. So you're pretty technically minded and slightly geeky, although you don't look like a geek. You are a geek. You're an undercover geek. You look like an action man, but you're a geek actually. Here's a big subject: AI, artificial intelligence, and this could be a very big series, but. Yeah, we're in danger. Yeah, we're not. What are your feelings on AI, and how do you think it's going to affect music and production and the future for artists in future?
Well, I've been using the last couple of weeks quite a lot. I've been using GPT-4, which is the OpenAI version. There's a sort of, I think the one that you can access from Bing is like 3.5. I've been using 4, and I think that's due for an upgrade soon. And I've been using it to write, I know this sounds really geeky, but I've been using it to write code. So programming code for an app, right? So I've been using it to write iPhone code, essentially. And it's pretty scary. Because, I mean, it's not like Google. I mean, the tendency with everyone with AI is to use it like Google. You ask it something, right? And actually, it's very good. It lists everything out. But you're not 100% certain it's right for a start, okay? Because it's trained on a data set, like and it makes mistakes.
It's like Wikipedia, garbage in, garbage out,
yeah. Well, it just makes mistakes. And if you press it, it'll say, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I made a mistake. And you can ask it, you can ask it to solve an equation for you, and it will get it wrong. That's weird because it's a computer. Now you think it'll get it right, but it doesn't because it's a text-based learning thing and whatever. So anyway, so in that realm of programming, it's fascinating because you can say, look, write me a subroutine to do this. Well, you can ask it to write your entire program and it will do it, but it won't compile, right? Because it's got some mistakes in it. And you say, look, for example, there's a line in the code that could return an infinity, right? So divide by 0, something like that. You have to protect your code from that. If you say, look, that line there, it errors out in certain situations. You say, oh, sorry about it. It'll say, oh, sorry. I apologise. And it'll give you another bit of code which protects it from that condition.
It's a bit like C3PO. Oh, my goodness gracious me.
Yeah,
C3PO.
Well, this is it.
They're trying to create like a persona or a consciousness kind of thing.
And, this is really, really early days yet.
But with the acceleration, it's exponential. It's going
to... I do a lot of reading and I listen to a lot of stuff on this. And I'm not, an expert on any of this. But it's, it's not scary, but it's something that is going to be a huge... Well, yeah, potentially. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very, very worried about it.
I'm sure.
But it's not something that, I suspect that the military haven't been using for a while.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
I certainly can't believe that something like GPT-4 is not already being used to, in things like drones and
yeah, and I always know that when things come to the mainstream, apparently, when things come to the mainstream, apparently it's been in, black ops or undercover, government have been using it 10 years ahead of time or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is slightly different. I think possibly because of the way it's put together and the compute power involved and the specialist skills that are required to put it together. But I'm sure they're under a lot of pressure to do something with the military. But by the by, there's lots of existential threats for all this stuff. Some people are more worried than others. You've only got to look at Midjourney and DALL-E and I can't remember what the other one is now. But it's impressive what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I know there's some programs out there that can replace voices, for instance. You can replace one voice with another. It's very clever, but it's like anything. I think if you just approach it, I can do this, and you show it to people, and then hundreds of people do that, you get bored of that very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
It's not a creative, because you're not doing any of the creation there. The machine's doing all the creation. You've not really had an original idea. You've put a sentence into it. You've asked it to do something. It's done it for you.
Yeah.
But again, it's the filtering process. It's like music. If you've programmed a line in, a piano line or a synth line, and you've tried 1,000 different sounds, the reason it finally sounds like it sounds on the record is because it's gone through a filtering process in your brain.
Yes.
It's going to be the same with this software. It just asking it to do something and write you a track is not going to work. Because it doesn't have that filter. It doesn't have that emotional filter. You can say, actually, do you know what? That sound is perfect for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I like about it, it comes up with unexpected results. The Midjourney stuff and it's fascinating. It gives you stuff that you would never have thought of. But there's something about it that is kind of predictable, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? you see it. I know that's AI. It's
Yeah,
too weird. It's too weird.
Yeah. There's something organic in us that doesn't connect with it. Something.
Yeah, and again, if Midjourney gives you 100 images, one of them in there might be really good.
Yeah.
The skill is identifying which one's really good, and it's going to be the same with music. I think the skill is still going to be in the filtering. It's still going to be all these ideas come at you, and you assemble them in the way that you think people would appreciate. You know, I'm definitely going to be wrong on this because it's going to change far quicker than anyone imagined. But I still think ultimately it's that filter process, it's that decision-making process that is what makes something good and what makes something average.
I've never thought of it that way. Yeah, no, that's. I enjoy our conversations. We're now going to, as I say, no, we could really. This is completely down your street, so we should have you as a regular face on Geek Talk. But yeah, we're going to talking about man caves. I've seen one of the most impressive man caves I've seen in a long time. We're going to head down to your little. Well, have you got a name for your man cave or?
I mean, on the things that I've published, I've been calling it the summer house.
The summer house.
So I've sort of changed because I have actually got a small summer house here, and that's where I used to do stuff.
So that original, when I interviewed you the first time, that wasn't here. That was in another place. Was that in the summer house?
What, online when we were?
No, I interviewed you in Rich back in 2019.
That was at Rich's place.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, we never. But you sent me photos of that. Was that this place or was that the summer house?
It might have been that room. I did have a lot of gear in there for a while.
But this is a new.
But I didn't decorate it for years.
Okay, but this is a new setup now. So
I stripped everything out. I bought a really good, like one of these desks, desk to work, a workspace desk.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
And then I've soundproofed everything, but I've sound treated everything.
Yeah.
It's not soundproofed. It's not soundproof. So it's everything on the ceiling, but it's a really dead space in there.
It's a great space, yeah.
So it just sounds like an anechoic chamber. It's really good. Now, whether that's good or bad, I think it's all right.
No, well, it's a great. It reminds me of a kind of like a Vince Clarke kind of thing. So, as I say, a lot of eat your heart out, geeks. You're going to love this.
It's small, but we'll make it look big, won't we?
Absolutely.
With lenses.
We will. Let's go check it out. Right, Mark, so here we are in your man cave. Hello. As you call it, the summer house.
Summer house, yeah. It's not very summery. It's not really got any windows. But
what's this? This is about 3 meters by 2? No.
Yeah, it's probably about that, isn't it?
It's tiny, but it's
3 meters by 4, I think. Something like that.
Well, it's the perfect working environment for a solo artist, and
yeah. I mean, usually there's a chair in here. I don't just stand up like a maniac.
I see.
So what do you want, a guided tour?
Well, we'll do that. Well, first of all, my attention's been taken to the screen. Yeah, so you've got something on the screen there.
Yeah, so I've got this is a track I've worked on, and I've sort of coming back to it now to try and get it kind of. So this is a mesh track.
A mesh track. Wow. There we go, guys. Exclusive here on Geek Talk.
So I mean, I don't know what sort of levels. I mean, do you want to do levels first? Have you done levels?
Oh yeah, that'll be good. Yeah.
Is that
That's fine. Yeah.
Wow. Is that right?
Great sounding. Yeah.
Let's mute those out for now, shall we? So yeah, I mean, this is just a bit of it. So since I've done this, I've changed quite a lot of things in here. So I'm going to come back to it.
Is this essentially a demo, or?
Yeah, it's a demo. Yeah, it's not a final track. It's recorded as a demo at the moment.
Okay.
The vocals that I've done, I did on this Rode K2, but I've stopped using it because it's a bit harsh. So
Rode
I've got
K2.
These new Warm Audio
right.
W87s, which I can't afford a proper Neumann.
Yeah, well, they're not.
It sounds really well. Say it sounds really good. It just sounds really neutral. It's very good. So the road is very brittle. It's
who are these made by? Is it Sontronics?
Warm Audio.
Warm Audio, actually. Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. It's a nice mic. And I've got this, obviously, this Amazon special thing. I mean, there's not a lot of noise in here anyway, and it's very dead in here.
It's very dead in here as well.
And the PC's next door, as you'll hear on the other interviews.
There's a great... And you guys are still working on Cubase, are you?
Yeah, Cubase 12, I think this is. No, I don't. Have I got upgraded? I might not have upgraded yet. I was a bit nervous because I was working on something I didn't want to upgrade and then find I was...
And you lose everything.
Knackered, so that might be 11. I can't remember, if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm gonna. Somebody's got moody intros and all that. So I mean, primarily most of this is written. So that's kind of the Rev 2, which is there now. I've moved it. So I use that quite a lot. And then all the sort of basses on the Sub 7. None of this is running live at the moment. It's obviously rendered off. So there's a sort of mock vocal on that.
Just a guide vocal.
Yeah, and then there's this one, which is probably the one that I finished. There's another one playing somewhere. I don't really know where it is. So yeah, this is. You every day. I want you to space. So this has got Mary Catman on it.
Oh, Mary Catman.
Yeah. So
Tom Shear's missus. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is This is how I kind of met her really through this. I did mute out a load of things, but I think I've unmuted them again. To fill my empty places. So there's two vocals going on there. So I need to find that one. Where is it? I mean, I'm absolutely terrible at this kind of organisation thing. So I colour things and then I forget about it.
So you work very fast, like in a flow kind of state where you just throw things in and then you try to make sense of them afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to send it to anyone, then I have to go through it all. Oh, junk is probably in there, is it? I bet it's in there. It's probably some old tape. There he is. Looking, that's the one. So I've got a junk folder, which is all bits of MIDI and crap that I just keep just throwing basically in a black hole. You run out of time, and I've run out of tape. That's a sub 37 through some filters.
Nice.
Chopped up guitar on there. So it's probably another track that I've just put an LFO on it and then just cut it up. So
wow, there we go, whetting the Mesh fans' appetites there.
Look, it's a good track, this.
So there we go, Mesh fans. You can see stuff is in progress. There is, and you don't usually show things to people like this.
Well, you can only glean so much from this, I think.
Give them some hope.
Let's have a look at what did I do? Test. So. What have I done? I've done something here. So you can kind of, so after it's done, you can sort of start running things like live back into it. So there's a few things running here. So what we're doing here? So there's a drum machine here. Just Syntact.
All right.
Which I've not long got actually.
Which one's that? What's it called?
Syntact.
Syntact. Okay.
Yeah, from Electron. Oh. It's a hell of a thing actually. I must admit. You can just kind of run things in live. So. It's not what I'm putting on there, it's just an example really for... So that's just a drum machine running live. I mean, if we wanted to put other stuff in...
It just sounds so dense and so...
Yeah, so there's a...
Wow.
There's a modular line in there somewhere. What was it I was using? Was it that? Nice. It probably needs tuning. This is an example what you can do. See, I've got a little thing here. I mean, this is GeeK territory. My ring.
What's that?
And then you see my ring, as they say. So if you strap that on. I can get the Velcro on.
Oh right, it's like a D-beam or something.
Yeah. So when you run it on the track. So, like Harry Potter. You do stuff like rhythmically with it.
Wow, you're saying Harry Potter's
It's like Jean-Michel Jarre in the 80s. We did all that kind of
Jean-Michel Potter.
stuff. Jean-Michel Potter. So just explain to the non-geeks what exactly that's doing.
So this ring transmits to Bluetooth and it goes to this module called Wavefront.
Yeah.
Can't really, I mean, obviously it's not playing at the moment, but
And then as you move your hand,
and
it's,
as you move, so if I was to get,
you can manipulate parameters by.
Yeah. So if I just get a normal oscillator.
Oh, so you can do cutoff or anything you want to.
Right.
It's a bit of a horrible noise, but. obviously it's not a very good example,
Well,
but it's quite, you know, there's a lot of that sort of stuff in this studio.
It shows you're having a lot of fun, and it shows the fans that you're actually working on new material, which is why I've been sent here.
Fucking around with rings. You know, there's a lot of things in here like that. You know, this, for instance, is get some sort of noise out of it.
What is that?
You know, this is the thing made by Soma Laboratories, as a Russian synth thing. So it's very hands-on. These are all contact pads. So you know, they've all got different. So that sounds pretty horrible as it is, but this is like a stereo field.
Ah.
So if you've got some noise there's noise on there.
Oh wow.
But you can mix it in. It's all stereo. So I mean, so it's kind of, you know, you're not writing any songs for this.
Well, it's ambience.
But it's intro. You know, these sort of little things. There's a reverb there, and there's sort of some sort of feedback on these two. And you can't hear it obviously in this on the camera, but it's all stereo. And you can tune these, so you can tune them to a sound to a note if you want. So stuff like this, and
Absolutely amazing. So the new Mesh album's gonna be very a lot of experimental kinds of geeky things, and
well, I mean, you know, we do things in different ways. So this is obviously a track that I've worked on, you know. But I mean, if we shut this down, if we save it, and then we, for example, if I load up something else. So another way we do things. So if I take this, I mean, I used to work on the iPad quite a lot. So I mean, I've got Cubase on the iPad, Cubasis. I don't know if this is the latest one or not, but it's quite cool.
what would you say? There's a lot of sort of more hands-on things going to this new body of work. A lot of analog.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's
less digital than the last.
There's
album.
things like this, you know. I mean, you know, this is Soma stuff. It's a Pulsar 23.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it kind of works as a thing. Again, it's kind of normalised to work. You can just make sounds. Or it's just fucking nuts. So I mean, if I wanted to modulate, I don't know. It's not patched in at the moment, but you know, there's clock here.
Yeah.
So these little crocodile clips, and you clip them on.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then that modulates whatever that is, a tune, I think. But these are all clocks, and then it's got MIDI in, so you can you can clock it. But you can also, you know, if I got a cable here, I can plug that in. You know, there's a clock on there.
Okay.
So now that on that post there, there's a clock on there, so I can clock it something else to whatever that's Pamela's new workout. So that's not. Oh, it's gone to sleep. So there's a clock on that, and then I can feed that in anywhere. But I can do anything. You know, I can take that and put it in. There's an LFO there, which again is clocked to everything. Everything is synced in here, so it's all linked through Pamela's new workout. So everything runs in time. So any of these voltage sources, they all run on the door.
I see.
And then you can just, you know, patch them in. You know, another. I don't know. You could have another one on there, and you just put that over there somewhere. I mean, it's not easy to see what's going on. It all seems a bit like witchcraft, but I mean, actually, you know, there's a voltage blocks there. There's just CVs coming out, control voltages coming out. And that's on another crocodile clip. And then you end up with, you know, you've wasted pretty much all of the day, and then you just chuck it all away. So it's a bit like that. So if you, so if we say, I don't want to import anything, why is it asking me that? So I mean, this is another way of doing things. So Rich sends me some music. It's not very loud. This quick. Look at it. It's been in some sort of road accident with the iPad. You can see through it to the back. Okay, right. So, I mean, this, for example, is a different way of working. So instead of working in here like this, which is a full-on, get the PC on and everything, I can import the music that he's given me. So you'll recognise this because you've had to learn it.
My Protector. Yeah. Was that a demo?
Yeah. So this is the original demo.
Oh.
So this is the music, and what I've done is I've chopped it all up. So it wasn't in this order originally, and I've chopped all the bits up. So I mean he might have sent it to me with a verse that was too long or too short, or maybe there was a bit on the end. Sometimes he leaves me a bit on the end that he hasn't used. And I might chuck that in somewhere because that's pretty good. It's in the same key and everything, so I can use it. And it'll be something like, I don't know. If I play it, she's probably focus on it. That's the original thing.
The original demo.
Yeah. But that's recorded on here. The vocals are done on here with a microphone, like an iRig mic that just plugs in. It ain't bad.
Sounds amazing. Yeah.
It's just a bit of reverb on here. And it's good program. And then the microphone just plugs directly into the lightning port. And then what I'll do sometimes, if I think it needs it, it's got instruments in here that you can play. That's the top line. That's the line that's in there on the bridge. There's another one comes in there. That's another synth running. It's a bridge type thing you can run. See what I mean? This is the perfect way to write vocals because you haven't got all this stuff in it, distracting you. I mean, if I'll get distracted and then I'll try and write a top line for it, and it'll take me 3 hours, and I've done nothing basically. So these synths here, they're just part of the program, or there's an audio share thing you can download a standalone plugin and it will run inside here. But there's a lot of things that didn't end up in the final one. I don't think I used that. Drum thing that I've done.
It'd be interesting to do. A lot of artists do that on Spotify. Is if you just release the demos,
Yeah, we've done a couple because they were so different when the way we released it and the way it was originally recorded. So we did it, when we were looking for sort of B-sides and stuff. But yeah, the trouble is, it's like, this is the same situation as you get when you give a demo to a record company, right? And you tell them it's a demo, and they say, "Oh, yeah, that's fine," and then they come back to you and say, "Yeah, it's not very good." I think remember I told you it was a demo, and this is the same with these sort of things, I mean, if somebody will just say, "Yeah, that's terrible. It's recorded really badly." Yeah, it's done on an iPad. Yeah, in a shed.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it was.
I repeated the demo, which they don't.
Yeah, so you've got to be careful with that stuff. So,
well,
there's things in here. There's things.
What's the Korg Op 6?
Yeah, so I've got the TG77, which is an old Yamaha tone generator.
Tone generator, yeah. Is that FM?
That's FM.
FM, yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a bitch to program, but we used this quite a lot on some of the early albums. It's got nice. If you hit the sweet spot with it sounds really good. This is similar, but it's got a bit more control over it. It's got a lot of parameters that you can adjust. So you can adjust the 8 operators in it.
So it's a modern version of
It's a modern version of this.
But they've got nice transients, sort of nice attack.
I mean, it can be really harsh, like really harsh.
That's what I mean, yeah. Metallic.
I mean, what I've started doing with it, and it's only really something I noticed in the last few years, it's like, You know, when you've got a really good chorus, sometimes there's just a high frequency in there that you can't really put your finger on. It's in there. It kind of makes it more exciting. It's almost like a bell, and that's really good at that. It's just something that you just put in there. If you take it out, you notice it, but you can't hear it. But when you remove it, you hear it. But it's gone.
Yeah.
So I used quite a lot for that. I mean, I primarily bought it for bass lines and horrible FM sounds, but so you've got to pick your battles sometimes.
So now you're using for like ultra high frequency,
Yeah.
kind of like that sizzle.
Yeah,
in
because
the
it's
song,
got that kind of that high end.
which you can't hear, but if you take it away, you notice it's not there.
you notice it's gone. But I need to sit down and just do some proper programming with it, because it's, you know, whereas the TG77 you need an editor for, which I've got on here. So that's what I use the iPad for. I use the iPad basically for editing the TG77, because I cannot. I mean, even the backlight's gone now, so I can't even see it now. And I use it for doing demos, and it's basically for the TG77 editor, really.
Well, I see there you have is that the Behringer? Is that the 2600 clone?
Yeah, the Behringer 2600.
Yeah.
What can I say? I'm gonna, I've just got this. This is, because I love this kind of stuff. I use these a lot. So this is a string ensembler, the Selena.
Oh yes,
It's just come out. I kind of really, that's the Strike Fet, this is the Waldorf thing, which is essentially the same kind of thing, but this is digital.
This is analog.
And see, as soon as I said that's digital, I'm assuming this is based on proper circuits, I think. But it just sounds really nice. I mean, it's got this phaser modulation thing. It's not plugged in at the moment because, as I said, Vaughn, I made this shelf specially for you today.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'd
like to get a long shot of you. Thank you very much. And it's red,
shelf.
Vaughn shelf. Thank you very much.
So I played with that yesterday. It only arrived yesterday. And it's really, really cool. And this as well, which again, it's the Pro 800. It's just like the Prophet 600 remake. Do you know what? I mean, I have a few problems with them. They're a little bit temperamental. Yeah. The Pro 800 has been a little bit temperamental. They just updated the firmware on it. But do you know what? For the money, I mean, all right, you switch it on and you're playing something, it might do something weird, but it sounds fantastic. I mean, this thing is amazing. But this is one of these sort of double A synths, I mean, you only buy one of these, I mean, that's brilliant. But, it's going to be really good, this, I think. So I haven't really had a chance to play with it. This is horrific, but it sounds absolutely amazing. So this is a stylophone.
It's a bit darker there, but...
yeah, it's a bit darker.
That's good, yeah. That's better,
It's a stylophone, and it's noisy and horrible, but it makes some absolutely horrific sounds.
So there's a lot of hardware being used on this new album. I mean, as you say, looking skyward, there was a lot of like VSTs, but yeah, you're really going hands-on with all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Rich and myself have used a lot of hardware on Looking Skyward, but we didn't have so much of it. And it comes and goes. The stuff goes in the studio, goes out again. Rich has got quite a lot of analog stuff over there as well, which he uses on the tracks. But the VST sounds so good. You know what I mean? Serum and Silence. There's loads of them now. You know what I mean? Serum's particularly good because of the resolution of the oscillators is so high. You can't really tell. I mean, people like Dead Mouse use it all the time. They definitely wrote it. Do you know what I mean? And he's an analog freak. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, all this stuff is just separate things. I mean, these are oscillators basically. Oscillators. That's a sample player. Just makes snare noises. That's a kind of granular synth. It's just weird. I love all these things. And then these are all the sequencers and voltages and filters and and every now and again you think, do you know what I need? I don't write with it, but if you want a sequence of some kind, you can use it.
Well, it's a beautiful space, this, but it's a tight space, so you really can't warrant having things that you're not going to use.
No, I mean, I mean, he says looking at 2 samplers that I've barely turned on.
The old, is that the S5000?
That's the 5000, yeah.
Oh,
I do use that every now and again.
Well, they have a character, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, it just sometimes you just want, you want that old school thing where a noise shortens as you transpose it. It's got that thing to it. So I mean, if you want like I don't know, some kind of choiry type type thing, but you want it to sound really synthetic, that'll do it.
Only that can do it.
Yeah.
I know Rich has got some old Emaxes. Which
He's got the
he sometimes runs things through those as well.
He's got the Emax 2.
That's right.
I mean, when he was using that, I was using the ESI. Because of the space really more than anything, but I mean they were quite expensive.
These old '90s stuff. Yeah,
and it's good enough. It's got like a turbo board on it, and it's got a load of effects on it. But it's easier to chuck it in the sampler and Cubase, if I'm honest. Yeah, but there's things like I don't know. There's loads of things like that TR6S is fantastic. That's the ACB one, so that's the one that models. It basically models all this, so it's clever because it's not samples. So all this is the same. This is the SH01A. That's ACB as well.
Is that like I said, mini SH101 kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's got the ribbon controller on there and everything.
Yeah. So the way that Roland do it is that they, instead of trying to emulate it in software, they emulate the components that went into the original synth. So they emulate a resistor and a capacitor and a diode, and then they put those software components in, and what you get out is pretty much what the original synth. So that's why a Juno 106 ACB ones is still as a noisy chorus, because that's how it's modelled. So it's quite interesting, all that stuff, and I can't tell the difference, if I'm honest. I had an SH101 and it sounds pretty good to me.
Read the comments below.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I just set myself up for disaster. I mean, there's the Pro 1. I use that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I use that a lot. I mean, it is the Pro 1, as in not the Pro ONE, which is obviously the original sequential one. Yeah. But me and Rich disagree about this, but he owns an original one, so he knows more than me. But that, if it needs a bass line, something punchy and clicky, I mean, it is really, really cool. This, I don't use it so much.
Oh, the grandmother.
I love the sequencer on it. It's got a brilliant sequencer on it. But I don't use it so much.
Yeah,
it's just annoying because it does sound good, but it's got a hell of a lot of bass in it. So, yeah.
Well,
there's all sorts of things going on in here.
Loads of stuff. Well, I'm just happy to report to the Mesh fans that stuff is going ahead.
Yeah. I mean, this is an example of doing it in here. So he's given me a piece of music.
Rich.
I won't play too much of it, obviously, but so once I've got the tempo of it, then
Lovely.
So you got that, and then if I feel the need, I can add to it, because I mean it's all synced up. I mean everything. If you export a file from one place to another, generally it syncs up okay. So I mean I've literally done this just to show you really. So that's Serum.
Yeah.
So I mean this thing's.
Does have a very good sound.
It's so, I don't know, that could be it doesn't sound like a digital synth.
It doesn't, no.
You know what I mean? So you can just add to it.
Okay, now you need to save that.
Well, saved. I did it this afternoon just for you. Well, I've been working on it, but this is just one I thought it'd be easier to demo it, and then. So if you want to compress it, you can compress it. It gets a bit louder, but you can turn it down. And then I use this. This is just there's all sorts of stuff you can do. I mean, I was fucking around with this earlier on. So. And that's pretty horrible, but. Keys it in. Just delete this.
That sounds amazing.
So this is a loop, the looper,
Oh yeah.
RC505. Let's just change those. So make those 4 bars. I think that sets it. If I do the first one, I think it sets it. So I've cut that one down. If I delete everything, it goes a bit weird. But so essentially, if I start this running. You just fuck around with these things, you know. It's very. It's in. So something like that, maybe. Something like that. So that's recording on there now. Like a multi-track. Sky reverb on it, so turn it down so it's
Okay, that's it, man. We gotta cut.
You can turn that down now, like, and then you just.
Wow, that sounds absolutely amazing. So I'm here today just to put the Mesh fans who've been hassling me and hassling you as the new boy, saying, "Is there any inside information?" I'm like, "Look, guys, I'm sure something's coming, but if it's if this will give you an idea of what we're looking at, and it's sounding immense."
And you can see it takes a long time. You know,
It does. Yeah,
it's not easy.
it's not drag and drop.
It's not drag and drop. No, it's not drag and drop.
Can you use AI just to write a song, Mark?
Well, yeah.
Don't get you started. But now listen.
Give it some ideas and see what it comes up with, and I can just edit it. Like I said, it's all about the editing process.
Exactly.
So.
Well, listen, mate. Thank you so much for letting us commandeer your. I love it. Everyone usually gives their man cave such masculine names, but yours is like the holiday house. It's the summer house. It just sounds so friendly.
Yeah.
But this is what a man cave.
Oh, it's really hot in here, so that kind of makes sense.
It's like a sauna, yeah. It's definitely getting hot.
If the PC was in here, it'd be even worse.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, mate. Really appreciate it.